Thank you so much for being here today. I'm really happy to be able to share my message with all of you. So today we're starting with welcome to the independent mind. My goal is to really share what I've struggled with, but also what I've learned. And the main purpose of this message is really to awaken full consciousness in all of us, bringing us closer to a state of true love, gratitude, presence, inspiration, and certainty. Now, right now, these are just empty words that sound cool. But by the end of this talk, I hope that we all have a clear understanding of what they mean and how to achieve them. So I'm going to take you through the vision of what's possible, the independent mind. We'll look at the hypothesis, how things work, how to make it work. And finally, at the end, I want to do a bit of a practical. So I'm going to take you through a set of questions that come from a specific method that I was trained in. This method was designed to dissolve and neutralize significant emotional events. So let's get started. So I want to start with just by asking all of you, who here has experienced any of the following? Firstly, depreciation of others. In our world of constant comparison, we often devalue ourselves, and this can manifest in two ways. Firstly, infatuation. This is where you think others have better lives. You know, you play small, you don't see your own value, and you put everyone around you on a pedestal. Or resentment. This is where you think that maybe you're better than others, and you look down on them, even if it's just on a subtle level. Or perhaps you experience depreciation of your health, so you're unable to get fit, lose weight, and reach your desired physical goals. Perhaps it's your time. You constantly prioritizing others' needs over your own, leaving your needs unmet. And finally, perhaps it's your money, your hard-earned money. No matter what you do, you can't get ahead financially. You just feel like you can't save or earn enough to really get ahead. So what do all of these points highlight? Areas where you might devalue yourself. And that leads to really significant negative consequences in your health, your relationships, your time management, and your financial well-being. So guys, if you experience any of these and you want to improve any of these areas and you want to change it, we really need to get to the root cause of these issues and then figure out what to do about it. Self-depreciation, in my opinion, is the manifestation of living inauthentically. So inauthenticity or living incongruently can be defined as an imbalanced ratio of perceptions which produce emotions, and that leads to a charged state of mind. Okay? So basically, if you see more positives than negatives in others, that leads to infatuation. If you see more positives than negatives in yourself, that leads to pride. If you see more negatives than positives in others, that leads to resentment. And more negatives than positives in self, that leads to shame. So, how does this work? Okay, imagine an event occurs, something happens, and you see it in a polarized way, meaning you only focus on the positives or only focus on the negatives. You create a sense of separation, and that's what's keeping you stuck, because this event or person takes a hold of you as you develop this charge, and it runs you, and it prevents you from really seeing things clearly and from being able to make objective decisions. Let's take the example of being in lust. We've all been there, infatuated with someone, especially in our teen years. And all you focus on is the positives. They can't do anything wrong. You may see some red flags, but you choose to ignore them, clinging to this idealized story that you've created in your mind. As time passes and you get to know them better, you start to realize, okay, they're just human, like you and me and everyone else in this room. See, we all possess both positive and negative, and it's this balance that really makes us fully human. My goal today is to help you see equal positives and negatives in both yourself and others, because I truly believe that the universe seeks balance. And if you're able to balance yourself, self-regulate, then you no longer need the outside world, the external world, people, places, events, situations to balance you out. And that leads to less suffering and more certainty. So what happens when we experience these polarized states? Well, we create this dependent mind. It's a mind full of judgment. when we see more benefits than drawbacks, we develop our biases, and that's created in the mind, right? When we are attracted or repulsed, we generate our emotions, and we feel this in our bodies. And then finally, when we categorize things as good or bad or right or wrong, we establish our morals. And our morals basically determine how we interact in this world. Now, none of these are right or wrong or good or bad. The key here is having the awareness that you are creating these states, and these states that are trapping you into a way of thinking, or maybe locking you into a worldview that may not be serving you. So when you see more benefits than drawbacks and you develop this bias heavily influences your thinking. But if you see equal benefits and equal drawbacks, now you become objective. You become neutral. And it's this neutrality that frees you from a need for things to be a certain way. And you can accept things as they are. Now, emotions work similarly. When you feel attracted, you have feelings of happiness, elation, or lust. When you're repulsed, you might experience sadness, disappointment, or disgust. Oscillating between these emotions, back and forth, up and down, that's what creates most of the confusion and the suffering within all of us. And then finally, when we see things as good or bad, and we've tied ourselves to our morals, we prevent ourselves from being open and from being able to accept one another and see all of our traits. So let's take the example of the act of giving. So imagine someone in your family, someone close to you, someone dear, needs financial help, financial assistance, and you have the resources, you can help them. Would you agree that most of us in this room would say that that would be the right thing to do, or that would be a good thing to do? Okay? What if I told you that in this act of giving carries both a benefit and a drawback? And that's basically what I'm here to teach you today. In this act of giving carries both a benefit and a drawback. And I want you to be aware of this. I want you to realize this. When you help them out and you give them the money, in that moment, the benefit is they now have the funds to do whatever they needed to do, right? The drawback is perhaps I've just created a dependency. Maybe I've just created an expectation. Maybe I've stifled their growth or their creativity, or I've prevented them from actually coming up with their own value, creating something in this world, finding their purpose. The point is that the action is neutral, and we label it based off what suits us in that moment. So realizing, recognizing, and understanding this can really help you move beyond judgment and embrace a more balanced, authentic way of living. And that directly impacts your life in a positive way. So I'm sure you guys all know this image. If you don't, it's basically, where's the image? There you go. It's basically a representation of the mind. Okay? Everything above the water level is the conscious mind, and everything below the water level is the unconscious mind. Now, what happens is when you run by these polarized states, run by your emotions, your morals, and your bias, you become stuck. You stay stuck. You're stuck in this dependent mind, in this mind full of judgment. And how it works is you're only conscious of one side. So, for example, Justin Bieber is only ever good looking. Okay? Donald Trump is only ever fill in the blank, obnoxious, annoying, whatever you want to call him. And lastly, there's this beautiful, amazing place that you want to move to that you only see the positives. And if you move there, your whole life will be perfect and nothing will be wrong. And the problem is that you're still unconscious of the other side, which is that Justin Bieber is still a human being and he has bad hair days and gets pimples. Donald Trump sometimes does a good deed. And every single city comes with its own set of problems. It's really, I would say, it's an illusion to think that there's only one side and that only one side exists. When you wake up and realize that both sides exist simultaneously, now you're fully conscious. Now you can start to play an interesting game because you're not run by your emotions, your morals, and your biases. You're more in control. You have autonomy. And now that leads us to the independent mind. So now that we've defined the dependent mind or inauthenticity, let's look at the independent mind, right? The target state. When you're the independent mind is defined as a balanced ratio of perceptions, giving rise to an equilibrated state of mind. So when you're neither infatuated or resentful towards someone, you see both sides of them, you see all of their traits simultaneously at the same time, positive and negative. The similarities equal the differences, and nothing can surprise you because you're aware of it all. I really call that true love because you're fully conscious, you see both sides of them, you still choose to be around them, and that is next level commitment. See, hate is not the opposite of love because love is a transcendental state. Love is the synthesis of a pair of opposites. I don't love you because you're only ever one-sided. I don't love you because you're only ever giving, nice, and beautiful. I love you fully and wholly for being a complete human being with the ability to express both sides of all traits. Why? Because I want to be loved that way. I am human too. I want you to love me fully and wholly for all of me and all of my traits. That is true love. That is how we truly accept one another. If I love you for only ever being giving, when you're not giving, I become resentful. If I love you for only being kind, when you're not kind, I become resentful. So that's not love, that's infatuation. And infatuation always leads to resentment. Love is when you see both sides, and they exist simultaneously. We don't love others based off our expectations of them because we don't want to be loved based off their expectations of us. And that really reminds me, we can apply this exact same premise to the way we love ourselves. If I love myself fully and wholly, accept all of me and all of my traits, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that is self-love. And that's really where it all starts, because if you can't love yourself this way, you're not going to love others in the same way. And it really boils down to, if you're still judging yourself for the things that you've done, you're going to continue to judge others in the same way. So, love is a synthesis of infatuation and resentment. And self-love is a synthesis of shame and pride. Now, the same applies for all the transcendental states. What are transcendental states? Well, they transcend the polarized states. They transcend emotions, morals, and biases. They are the synthesis of a pair of opposites. We've just covered love, so we're going to look at gratitude next. Often we are grateful when things go our way, or we're grateful when someone's not doing as well as us. You know, thank God that's not me. I'm talking about a different gratitude. I'm talking about where you see both good and bad exist in the same moment, and you are still grateful. If you agree that every action or trait carries both a benefit and a drawback, then when something good happens or labeled as good, you understand that there's a hidden drawback attached to it. And the same for when something bad happens or packaged as bad, you understand that there's a hidden benefit attached to that. So you become grateful for it all. Same with inspiration. If you're willing to endure both pain and pleasure and still continue to pursue something, this is called inspiration. These days, everyone's on about follow your passion, follow your passion. I disagree, it's only one side of the story. Why? Because if you follow your passion, the minute it starts to get hard and you experience a little bit of pain, oh, I give up, I'm going to find a new passion. What I'm talking about is when you feel that you are, or when you see yourself enduring both pain and pleasure and still continue to pursue it, that is inspiration. So follow your inspiration. When you can experience both gain and loss in the same moment, now you become truly present. And finally, my favorite one, when you see the hidden order in the chaos, you become absolutely certain. These are the transcendental states. synthesis of a pair of opposites: love, gratitude, inspiration, presence, and certainty. They carry the most power as they allow you to move through this world with a balanced perspective, creating the unwavering natural state of pure authenticity. This is where you generate unlimited amounts of energy, you unleash your creativity, and you bring forth your true, authentic self. Right, moving on to how things work. So the cause, it stems from an imbalanced ratio of perceptions. Okay, what do I mean by this? What do I mean by imbalance? Imbalance due to what? Due to missing information. You don't have the full story. So remember, we said you're conscious of the positives, unconscious of the negatives, and that leads to infatuation or pride. Conscious of the negatives, unconscious of the positives leads to resentment or shame. So let me explain it. This is important. An event occurs, something happens, okay? Someone does something. At that moment of perception, you judge it, or you make a judgment based off on what you think is important or what you value most, so based off on your morals and your biases and your emotions. You make a judgment and you label it, and you store it in your conscious mind. Storing the other side of the picture, the red flags, the green flags, the missing information, the shit you choose to ignore, in the unconscious mind. So you've just had an experience, polarized it, and you're only focusing on the one side. The side that suits, supports, and matches your reality and your story. And this whole process is what becomes baggage. This baggage starts to affect your neurochemistry. These chemical imbalances are created, and doctors start to diagnose this as depression, even though the root cause can be addressed by uncovering more information. So what's the solution? By using a carefully curated set of questions that I'm going to introduce you to today, that are designed to help you uncover more information about an event or a person, you can dissolve the emotional charge associated to your perception. So by using this carefully curated set of questions designed to uncover more information about an event, you can dissolve the emotional charge associated to perception. So you can neutralize your perceptions and in turn balance out your brain chemistry. If you want to be truly healthy, both physically and mentally, it's absolutely imperative, it's essential that you dissolve and resolve the subconsciously stored baggage that you carry around with you. Because it really starts to affect your physiology, and it creates psychological and physiological symptoms. These chemical imbalances are feedback mechanisms signaling to you that you have imbalanced perceptions. Once you balance them, your psychology, your chemistry return to equilibrium. And alleviating these symptoms that really, and restoring you to a state of true love and gratitude for yourself, others, and the dynamics around you. The alternative is medication, and that comes with its own set of side effects. This work, this method, going through this process, excuse my language, but it's fucking hard. Okay? Letting go of your story and facing your truth is very uncomfortable. Most people prefer to be right and stay stuck. They avoid the discomfort and the accountability, and they leave these festering issues unresolved. But if you're willing to do the work and take control, you might just surprise yourself. And you know, you've got nothing to lose, because if it doesn't work, you can always go back to your old ways. So the whole point is to make you conscious of the negatives and conscious of the positives simultaneously, leading you to a state of true love and gratitude. So what is the desired target state? What does this person look like with the independent mind? You know, are they floating on clouds, or what do they look like? Neutralizing our perceptions and becoming neutral does not mean that you don't have emotions, you don't have likes, dislikes, or preferences. In fact, you're more aware of the things you like and dislike. You understand yourself so well. It's like watching yourself. You're the main character of your favorite movie or series. And each and every episode, you get to know yourself deeply. You have enough perspective that you see yourself in your entirety. And you might even laugh at the seriousness of how you hold on to your identity, values, and views. You're aware of the dance and the game you're playing. And you understand that the universe seeks balance and that you play a crucial role in maintaining that balance. And you really do have more love, true love, for the people around you, people in your life, especially your family, because you start to understand them and you start to see their role in maintaining the balance of this world. And you start to move forward in life, not just with awareness and understanding, but you start to take charge and lead with a level of responsibility and accountability that is so inspiring. Even you will be surprised by it. But remember, let's not get infatuated with this idea. It's not just all sunshine and roses. Don't just see all the positives. You have to go through some difficult situations. You have to have hard conversations. Sometimes your life will turn upside down. Things will change, and you won't like it at first. Especially when you let go of your stories. It's super uncomfortable. It's not fun. These stories have served you. They've protected you. They've taken care of you. They've looked after you. And you now realize as you go through this process that you no longer need them. So you're all grown up. You're a fully integrated, authentic, aware human being. And you start to radiate this. You take no credit, but you also take no blame. You understand and accept that sometimes you're going to be a really great parent, and sometimes you're going to not be such a great parent. You also understand and accept that sometimes you're going to have a great partner, and sometimes not such a great partner. Something really happens to you as you start to realize that we are and need both sides of all traits. You see the hidden order in the chaos, you realize nothing is missing and nothing needs to change, and you truly become grateful for it all. So moving on to the method. What are these preconditions required to achieving the independent mind? Well, it's going to boil down to these questions. But mobilization of these questions work best when you value it and when we've broken through the myth of bias and emotion and morals. So I'm going to take us, before we get to the questions, which are coming up pretty soon, I'm going to take you through values, beliefs, and then some of the myths that might be holding you back from authenticity. So what are values? Values are the things, the projects, the people, the activities that we think are most important in our lives. They stem from our perceived voids, things that we think we're missing or lacking in our upbringing. So no one is right or wrong. Everyone has a unique set of values, and no one is right or wrong for the things that they value. It's our judgments that make those distinctions. So usually I would sit with a person and take some time to determine what their values are. But for today's purpose, exactly where you are in your chair, I want to see if we can identify your top 3 values. So exactly where you are, I want you to just close your eyes for a moment. And then just ask yourself, where do you spend most of your time, energy, and money? Now I want you to really focus on what the things that genuinely matter to you. Don't think about what you think you should value, what really matters to you. And then ask yourself, where do I spend most of my time and energy? Where do I spend most of my money? And what grabs my attention the most? And then just jot down the top 3 things that come to your mind. I'm going to give you some examples. So maybe it's your children. It could be family. It could be relationships. Maybe it's your business, finance, or your career. Maybe it's health. Maybe you spend all your time and money on exercise, fitness, nutrition. For the youngsters, I saw a few teens here. Maybe it's socializing or gaming. The point is that we all have our unique set of values. And it's values that drive decisions and behaviors. So your unique set of values is what got you at this event, in this chair, right now. You probably value personal growth. Maybe it's social connection. Maybe it's travel. Unless someone dragged you here, then this won't apply, but you value the person that brought you. Our values rise to the top of our priority list. So it's super important that we value the independent mind or the state of neutrality more than our current strategy or story. And if you don't, let's link it. So what I want to do is ask yourself, how does the state of neutrality, achieving this state, how will it benefit me in my top highest values? So for me, example, you could say, how is achieving the state of neutrality going to benefit me in my business? How will it benefit me in my family? How will it benefit me in my health? And by that, you're linking it and making a higher probability of you actually going through the process, doing the work, by making it more important to you, making it higher, higher on your value list. So basically, it all starts, the main question is, I'm going to ask you guys right now, do you guys value this enough that you're willing to do the work and go through the process? Raise of hands. Awesome. Happy to hear we're on the same page. Okay, so we've established we value it. Great. Now we have to break through some of the limiting beliefs that are holding you back. So basically, you just have to believe that this process is going to work, or at least be open to the idea of it. Now, why? I mean, without the buy-in or the belief, why is it important to have this belief or the buy-in? The instinctual part of the mind, the amygdala, the animal part of the brain, is going to create resistance, and it's going to prevent you from having this breakthrough. It comes up with a strategy, any and every strategy it can think of, to hold on to its story, and it's not going to let go, because it's been protecting it, it's been serving it, so it will prefer to hold on to the story. In this situation, it's not impossible to have a breakthrough, but it does take a little bit longer and it's more challenging. So the point is, if you want to make it a little bit more easier for yourself, least resistance, and just a smoother process, then you want to value it, which we've just determined, and you want to be open to the ideas that I've presented today. So we're going to look at some of the myths, 4 myths that might be holding you back from being authentic, and then I'm going to take you through some questions. The practice is really cool. So the first myth, people can and should be one-sided all or most of the time. Okay, so if I asked you if you were only ever assertive, never passive, only ever giving, never taking, only ever honest, never dishonest, you would say, not quite, Yelena. Sometimes I'm assertive, sometimes I'm passive, depending on the situation or the person. Sometimes I'm giving, sometimes I'm taking. Sometimes I'm honest, sometimes I'm dishonest. And for those of you thinking, I'm never dishonest, hold that thought. Because if I take you through your life with a fine comb, I absolutely guarantee we will find moments that you've been less than truthful. Because the reality is that humans evolved the ability to express at least 4,000 traits to varying degrees and frequencies at various life stages. Now, what do I mean by traits? Traits can be physical traits, so eyes, ears, nose, abs, legs, or it can be an action, or an inaction. Action, I mean, is I basically gave you some money. That's an action. And an inaction would be I didn't respond to your email, or I didn't respond to your text. So traits are physical traits, actions, and inactions. All traits have a complementary opposite, and they're ever present in everybody all of the time. So we're going to look at a few examples. There's your traits, there's your actions, and there's your inactions. Now, these are just a few, guys, out of 4,000. When you come across a trait that you dislike in someone, you're blind to the fact that you have it too. And you judge everyone around you for displaying it, not realizing you do it too, at varying degrees, to different people, and at various life stages. And then you create that sense of separation because you view them as one way and you view yourself another way. When we realize that we all have these traits, there's no more need for labels, separation. And we can let go of these tightly held views, beliefs, open our hearts filled with love and gratitude, and accept the people around us. So everywhere in nature, everywhere in existence, we have the set of complementary opposites. And without them, things become unstable. So in chemistry, we've got the proton and the electron, maintaining that fine balance of the atom. In biology, we have mitosis and apoptosis. This is cell death and cell division. Again, creating the balanced homeostasis in the body. Complementary polar opposites. In hormones, insulin and glucagon, regulating blood sugar levels. In the animal kingdom, we have male and female, predator and prey. Again, maintaining that balance in the animal kingdom in nature. So everywhere in nature, we have these set of complementary opposites. And they exist to create balance, stability, and sustainability. Amazing. The next myth. I can and should experience more positive emotions and get rid of socially unacceptable negative emotions. Now, I think you guys are starting to get the point that we can't just be one-sided. We can't expect ourselves, we can't force ourselves, or others for that matter, to always only ever be happy, always only ever be positive. I was like that for many, many, many years. Chasing happiness, always being positive, always being in a good mood, avoiding conflict like the plague. Until I started to realize something. Like, we all understand that growth happens at the edge of support and challenge. And if we only support something, so continue, let's take a plant. If you're just watering a plant, eventually it's going to die because it needs both sides. Same with a child. If you overprotect it, oversupport it, give it every single thing it desires, you create a dependent child. A child doesn't have resiliency, can't think for themselves, can't do things for themselves. Growth happens at the edge of support and challenge. And so I finally started to realize that the conflict was the part of the challenge, and I started to allow more of it in my life. Actually, I started to run towards it, and I started to embrace it and take on the challenge of being in a conflicting situation. And it transformed me, it transformed my life, and I started to really grow up. And so that's what I really want for all of you as well, to understand this. Because you're disregarding a part of yourself that is essential to the human existence or experience. What would happiness be without sadness? And what would pleasure be without pain? I want to take this example of you guys being here at MVU. Everyone here is having a pleasureful experience. All of us, right? It's the most amazing, amazing time. I remember my first time in Tallinn, my first time at MVU. It was just mind-blowing. So there's a lot of pleasure, right? Meeting new people, learning new things, trying new food, going to these insane parties, events, really having an awesome time. Now, I don't want to create doomsday. What I'm trying to explain to you is have the awareness that the pain exists. It's there. You're just not aware of it. And again, remember what I said. If you balance yourself, you don't need the outside world. You don't need external events and people and things to balance you out. So where's the hidden pain? The pain could be the financial, the money you spent to get here. The pain could be time. It could be time away from other commitments, family, or maybe just your daily schedule. It could be health. Perhaps you're not sleeping. The sun doesn't go down here. Maybe you're not sleeping. You can't get to, or you're trying to spread yourself thin, get to all the events. So it's impacting your health. So there's a hidden pain. Does it make sense? You guys get what I'm saying? Awesome. So the reality is that all we can aim for is neutrality, because forcing these positive emotions and suppressing the negative emotions attracts its opposite. In my case, I was so freaking positive that I didn't attract a partner to balance me out. I attracted a partner and a mother-in-law, and they both balanced me out. So I needed two people because I was so positive, and I needed to embrace more conflict in my life. I needed to accept that the other side was just as important. And again, there's going to be a fine balance. I'm not saying too much conflict is also not great, right? So it's the balance of support and challenge. So you don't want to have too much conflict, and you don't want to be on the other side and just seeking pleasure. Third myth, some people have it better than me, and some people have it better than me. The reality is that nothing is missing in our lives. It's simply in a form that reflects our highest values. This is an awesome concept to get. It's helped me a lot in my life as well. So basically, if you value travel, you're going to have a lot of experiences, memories and stuff. You're going to have a lot more memories and experiences than you have money. Unless you value money, then you're going to have money in the bank too. So if you did not write finances, wealth, career, business on your top 3 highest values in the exercise we just did, I bet you now you're still trying to find or get more of it in your life. Because if you don't value it, it's not going to be reflecting in your life. Your life is a true reflection of your highest values. And guess what? Your wealth lies in your highest values. For me personally, I really value relationships. I spend a lot of my time, energy, money on my relationships, nurturing them. My children, my partner, my friends, my family, my clients. The weight of the connections that I have with people, right? Equal to, if I had to put it on a scale, is the same weight as a healthy bank balance to a businessman, or a massive email list to an entrepreneur, or a healthy fit body to an athlete, or maybe status to a politician. The point is, this is what I value, and that is what they value. Your life is a demonstration of your highest values. If you don't like what's showing up in your life right now, you need to look at your values. And what's cool is you can change them or at least link them. So I've got a cool example that I want to show you. Where is your million? So we've got individual A. There's a list of his values from 1 to 6. Family is highest, wealth is lowest. And we've assigned like a monetary value to each value, okay? He spends 5 hours a day on family, nurturing these relationships, connections. Probably has 1 million photographs, memories, Christmas dinners, lunches, birthdays. This person, all their wealth lies in the family, in relationships. Wealth is very low on his value list. He spends a small amount of time building wealth. So he's only got about 25 grand if you split up the million in his wealth. Okay? Individual B, he's got wealth second highest on his values. He spends 2 hours a day on wealth building. So he's going to have a lot more cash in bank. And his family is only 4th on his value list. So what I'm trying to show you here is, it's not that one is better than the other, or you've got a better life than me. You have a different set of values. And no one is right or wrong for the things that they value. And again, if you want to change what's showing up in your life right now, it's important for you to first understand and become aware of what are your highest values. Do you even know? Where do you spend all your time, money, and energy? This next myth really drives it home, because people can be right or wrong for their highest values, and the truth is that no one is right or wrong for their highest values. Life depends on this diversity. If we all valued the same thing, how boring would life be? Like, we need people to value family so that we can grow this population. We need people to value business so they can create jobs and add to economy. We need people to value spirituality. So stop judging others for the things that they value. We all have our own unique set of values. We need to embrace it. We need to celebrate it. We need to accept people for who they are and for what they value. The problem comes when we compare and when we judge. Are you guys primed? Are you ready for your questions? So I think I did a good job there by just getting you ready for these questions. So we're going to get into them. We've got about 10 minutes. I'm going to take you through the 3 questions. So usually it takes about an hour or 2. There's 14 questions in this method. We don't have time for that, so we're going to do the first 3 questions. I really do believe that it's enough for you to have an experience of what this method can do for a person. So I'm going to take you through it, try and be as honest as possible. You're just going to answer it in your mind. If there's time at the end, and if anyone's really struggling, I'd love for them to come up. I can help them through the questions. But for now, let's see if we can just all go through it together. For this purpose, you can work on things you like. You can work on things you dislike. So events and things that have happened to you that have been amazing or things that have not been so great. You can work on a trait, so in a physical trait, you can work on an action or an inaction. But for today's purpose, just so I can guide the room together, we're going to work on an action, something someone did to you that you dislike. Okay, now I'm going to use an example while I take you through it so that you can kind of follow with me. It is tricky because you've got to be very specific. But I'll guide you as well as I can. And yeah, so an action, something someone did to you, something you dislike. And don't think about it too much, just whatever comes to your mind. So let's get to the questions. First, we're going to identify the charge. Question 2 is owning the trait. And the third question is neutralizing the charge. So question 1. It's a lot, but don't worry. Write in 3 to 4 words the highest priority specific action that you perceive this individual displayed or demonstrated that you dislike most. Okay, so you're going to get very specific. Now, usually people use labels or they'll use a general word. So they'll say he was abusive or he was an alcoholic or they'll label it. It doesn't really tell me what the person did to you specifically in that moment. So we need to get very specific on the action. So let's say I take my partner, for example, and he puts me down for something, and he's using his words. So I would describe it as he verbally criticized me, and the context would be maybe for not standing up for myself in a situation. So instead of saying like, he was mean to me, no one's going to understand or know what that means. So get very specific with the action. What was the specific action he did? Well, he's used his words, it wasn't physical, verbally criticized me, and the context was for not standing up for myself. Okay, so does this make sense? So get very clear on the action. Try not to use a broad term to label it. I'm going to give you guys a few moments. It's very important to get this one right, because this is the one you use for all the questions. So identifying the charge, super important. You don't want to rush it. Okay, everyone good? By a raise of hands, you want me to move on? You okay? Awesome. Next question. Sorry. So I just want to make sure that you understand no hearsay means you have to have perceived it yourself. So you can't say, my mom told me that my dad did this thing when I was a baby. It's got to be something that you've actually physically perceived. So you were there perceiving it. Second question, reflective awareness. Go to the moment where and when you perceived yourself displaying the same action that you dislike in this individual most. Here the brain comes with resistance. What? No ways, I've never done that. Are you crazy? I don't criticize people, I don't do that. And so the resistance comes. And I want you to go, remember it's in the unconscious mind, so we have to go and fetch it there. And it's important that you don't have to write down everything physically. You can use abbreviations. The work is fetching it from the unconscious mind. The minute you fetch it and you've opened it up, the work is done. Okay, so go and find moments where you've done the exact same thing. Like I said, mind says, no ways, never done it. So you get quiet, close your eyes, go, ask yourself, where have I done the exact same thing? And all of a sudden, it hits you. Oh, I've done this to my son. Oh, I've done this to my sister. Oh, I verbally criticized my partner or my colleague or a friend. It can be when you were very young. It can be very recent. You have to just get very quiet with yourself and allow your mind to reveal it to you. You're letting the truth reveal itself. Don't think about it too much, just let it come to you. And just try and find moments. And again, this is where you're going to basically explain it away. So a lot of people will say, well, the reason that I did it was valid, and the reason they didn't is not valid. So I did it because I was trying to help them, or I did it because they did this thing to me. No explanations. I don't want to hear the explanations. I don't want stories. I just want the action. When did you do the exact same thing to someone else? That's it. No judgment. You're owning the trait. I've also done this. I've done this in my life. I'm human, they human, we all human, we all own these traits. Amazing. You guys got it? Good. Last question. Sorry. Write down as many perceived events. So owning the traits, it's important that they balance out quantitatively and qualitatively. In other words, let's say my partner did it to me 1,000 times. And so I find one moment that I've done it to someone and I'm like, it's still a charge. This person's done it so many times. It's like, I did it once, so what? You have to go and level it out. You have to go and find as many moments as you can so that you can confidently say, I own the trait. I've done it too. Because most times the charge is there because this person that's done it to you has been many times, or it's the intensity of how they've done it. So you've got to qualitatively, quantitatively equal it out. Make sure you own the trait. Go and sit, do the work. Sometimes it's 20, 30, 40, 50 times. You've got to write down that you've done the exact same thing. Awesome. And then the last question. So we're going back to the first question, the person that did something to you. I want you to go back to that moment. Question 3. Dissolve the resentment. That's what we're going to do now, is dissolve the resentment. So go to the specific moment wherein when you perceive this individual displaying or demonstrating the action that you dislike most. And you have to get super present. In other words, I want you to go, what year was it? What country? What city? What location? Which room in the house? What was he wearing? What were you wearing? Were there other people in the room? What did he say to you? Get super, super present in the moment. He's verbally criticizing me. I can feel my blood boiling. I can feel my heart racing. And I'm present in the moment. And then ask yourself, from that moment and up until today, what has been the benefit? There goes the mind again. Benefit? What? Are you mad? He's criticizing me. He's telling me I'm weak. He's telling me I'm pathetic. Where's the benefit? Again, those are just labels. So he's verbally criticizing you in the moment. Go, get very, very present, and ask yourself, what is the benefit? And if you allow it to come, all of a sudden you realize, well, I did self-reflect. There was a bit of truth in what he was saying. And so that directly impacted me as I started to realize I need to be more assertive. And that impacted me in my personal growth, one of my highest values. So wow, he actually served me there in that moment. Becoming more assertive actually impacted my relationships. As the dynamics started to change in my relationships, as I started to become more assertive, more independent. So all of a sudden, I've got healthier relationships around me. So it impacted my relationships, another one of my highest values. It impacted my health because I wasn't keeping things in. I was allowed to speak up. I started to speak up and not hold things in. So less stress, less passive-aggressive. So directly impacted my health, another one of my highest values. And finally, it impacted my business. As I started to treat my clients differently, I was more protective of my time, not letting them constantly use up all my time. And it impacted my business and my financials. Wow. So this thing I think was so negative and so bad actually transformed me. It actually benefited me. Yes, maybe the delivery wasn't great, but there was a hidden benefit, and that's what I'm trying to show you guys today. Now, I've used a very mild charge. I didn't want to use anything too aggressive, but you can use really big charges, whether it's negative or positive. Because the interesting thing is when I started to do this work on the positive charges, where you're infatuated with someone or you love someone, you think they're so amazing, and I started to find the drawbacks or the hidden drawbacks, I was completely shocked. Because it's not just about balancing yourself out with all the negatives, it's about balancing the positives too. And again, remember what I said about neutrality. It doesn't mean you don't have emotions. Doesn't mean you don't have, you move into transcendental states. These states transcend everything else. It's like a meditative state. It's not just fleeting happiness or joy or infatuation. It's true love, true gratitude, true presence. certainty, and that's it. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. We ran out of time, so I can't bring anyone up. I just want to quickly, before we end. If anyone wants to learn more, find out more, you guys are welcome to email me, look me up if you want. But most important, Dr. John DeMartini, that's who I worked with. Please go to his website. He's got a lot of information on there, a lot of free content. Actually, a shitload. Please, go through it, go look at it. And then obviously he's got some paid courses and things as well. Mindvalley, the incredible Mindvalley, has partnered with him, and they are bringing out a quest. Keep your eye out for it later on this year, the Values Factor Quest. It's going to be insane. If you don't know what your values are and you want to learn how to determine them, this quest is going to help you do that. So thank you to Mindvalley for doing it. Lorenzo Delano was the one that designed the quest, and he's going to be your next speaker. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful time.